This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? What was that? Hey, everybody. Yeah, there you go. That's how I feel today, JJ.
No days off.
No, 0 days off. That's right. No, we recorded this on Saturday night.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my goodness.
Nope, this is us in the flesh on Labor Day.
You know what I love about Labor Day? Free parking across the entire, wherever you want. I took up 3 spaces today.
I'm parked in somebody's spot who makes $500,000 a year.
I went across 3 spaces.
And I'm not sorry.
Kept my doors open.
Yeah,
Music's still on down there.
Didn't burn as many calories today walking into work.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's one thing that's good about working on Labor Day.
I'm sure somebody on the 4th floor is taking notes right now.
Oh.
Did you go up there today?
I did. Not open.
Oh.
We've been shut out.
The 4th floor
We got shut out.
is closed on Labor Day.
Well, it's a couple things going on. One,
wow.
it was, I mean, there hasn't been a person in that office for a good 48 hours. Not a soul has stepped.
Oh, I believe that.
The lights are...
Try 72. They have Thursday afternoon.
It's like the light, sometimes you walk past some of these motions lights and like they'll kick on for an hour. Those haven't kicked on for days because it is pitch black there. And all I wanted was my peach mellow yellow zero out of the soda machine. That's all I needed.
They have some on the 1st floor.
I know, but again, people you don't want to walk, you don't want to run into. You know what I mean? But again, fewer people on them.
Nobody's working down there.
I know. So guess what? I will say this. Monday, Labor Day, first football weekend of the year. How'd you hold up, JJ? You look good.
Well, I have to look good because I got TV in 3 hours. But
hey, no problem.
Speaking of no days off.
Yes.
This is what we do this
I know,
for.
man. I know.
I'm full of energy. I'm full of vigor. I got a lot to talk about because we saw a lot of stuff this week, although we saw it against FCS competition. So
yeah.
This is an interesting week for us to evaluate these teams because we saw some great things from all 3 teams here in Utah, but then you question it because of the competition. And now coming up this week, you're going to get to see it against really good competition. So this week is the real test, and I look forward to seeing what grades these teams get on Friday and Saturday.
What do we have on TV right now? Look, this is it's the U.S. Open.
U.S. Open. You might be able to find some baseball.
Hold on. Oh, yeah, baseball. Lots of baseball today. I'm just wondering what we should give us a recommendation what we should be watching today. All right?
Stephen A. Smith talking about the NFL.
Talking about USC. There's that too. But
you know what you did miss?
What?
There's a live event on Netflix earlier today.
What was the live event?
Joey Chestnut.
Oh, it was his own
Kobayashi.
Oh.
versus who won? I already know. There's no way.
Who won? Who do you think?
Well, Kobayashi's lost a step. You know what I mean? So it's got to be Joey Chestnut. That's okay. So
I heard Kobayashi had esophagus replacement surgery. He's probably still recovering.
Are you saying there's going to be asterisks in the record books, in the hot dog record books, for the cheating, the scandals?
He's the first one to compete with a prosthetic esophagus.
I think he had it widened illegally, so the hot dogs could just to try, all in the name of trying to beat the best hot dog eater of all time.
Is that the big cheating thing in competitive eating? Is getting your esophagus widened?
That's going to be
that done.
That's going to be a 30 for 30. You freaking know it. Could you imagine, like the interview with the guy in the shadows?
Joey Chestnut.
We were told we were going to have our esophaguses widened. It's like, come on.
So Joey Chestnut is the Lance Armstrong of competitive eating. He dominates forever, and we find out it was all a sham.
Sounds like Kobayashi is, man. Trying to get back with the young guys and trying to figure it out. All right. Well,
Kobayashi still looks like he's 18.
Oh yeah. No. How many did they figure out how many hot dogs they ate? Jeremy, what do we have here?
The winner, 76.
Wow.
But Chestnut, he's been trying for 80 for a while. Did not get there.
He's been trying for 80 for a while. Makes it sound like he's the Aaron Judge. Yeah, he finally broke that AL record. Can't beat that Major League Baseball record, though. That's always tough. Imagine that's your contribution to the human, just to the world. You're on this planet for 72.8 years. Your contribution to the history of this planet was the amount of hot dogs that you ate. And people knew you for it. Crazy. That's awesome.
That's the mark you left on this planet.
We've got so much to talk about. Yes, I have fresh on the brain so many things that we can break down from the weekend of college football. And it continues, by the way, tonight, Florida State versus Boston College. Is that an earlier kickoff than I was hoping maybe it'd be like a 3 p.m.
5:30 p.m. Mountain Time.
Not bad. Okay, so we'll get home tonight. We can start. We can pick up watching the Florida State Seminoles lose their second game of the season, and we'll see how that goes. We've got dogs to talk about, the people who are the programs that you thought were on the rise and coaches who are going to get fired before the end of the season even. We've got all sorts of predictions for you with that. We have at least some football to talk about. We talked a little bit about Utah, of course, versus Southern Utah on Friday during our Football Fridays, but we now have a couple games in the books. Robert Morris up at Utah State. BYU, of course, taking on the Salukis of Southern Illinois. And you got your wish, BYU fans. You had a quarterback battle. It's been solved, at least for this week. No more questions about who the guy should be, at least for now. Let's get started with the program. Our show is brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. Let's get things kicked off here. Let's do it with the cut, as we always do.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You know, when you win any job, when you win any competition, it makes you feel good about yourself. But you can't just sit there and feel good about yourself. We had a game to win, and so it really just got down to preparation. And having a guy like Gary in the room is awesome for that. He's a veteran. He's done it so many ways. He's a heck of a ball player. And so having him in that room is so valuable to me.
There's your guy, Jake Retlzaff, got the start as it walked up. I mean, obviously this one, you and I, by the time we went off the air on Friday, it hadn't yet been totally known to the public about Jay Hill's condition. I think that at the end of everything, Jay Hill, the heart attack situation, I thought, man, this could be, I was having this discussion before we started up in our pregame, and I said, this is just another one of those things where it could be a massive distraction. It could be an emotional drain on these young men and on the rest of the coaching staff and just this weird pall. But the reality was the procedure was actually pretty quick. It ended up being something that he was back from the hospital from that evening. And then after it was all said and done, he ended up at the stadium. And he didn't call the play. At least Kalani did, but he was up in the booth, and I think it was probably a welcome thing to be able to say, hey, at least we can get some semblance of normalcy here. That Jay Hill wrinkle was one that we weren't anticipating. The quarterback battle was figured out, but, man, BYU had a lot on their minds going to that first game of the season.
They did, but like you mentioned, getting the stents in and getting the blockage taken care of, and the fact that he was out of the hospital at the game, giving him hugs, I think – if he was still in the hospital or he was, having to go through multiple surgeries or something like that, like when you have if it's a devastating heart attack and he's in really bad shape, that would be a different deal. But for him to be there in person, giving his guys hugs, I think that uplifted the team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They're playing for their coach. I think it was a minimal distraction. If it was anything, it actually inspired their play on Saturday. And Kalani Sitake, he's a pretty good defensive coordinator himself.
Yeah.
So I don't think they skipped a beat there at all. And
no, but it's something that, like, if you're not planning to be the guy, you've got all these other things, right?
But it was Southern Illinois.
I know. I got it, which is I'm glad
There's
about.
Never a good time for a heart attack.
Yeah. Jake Retlzaff gets the...
everything worked out really well for BYU this weekend, considering the circumstances. You're right.
Jake Retlzaff got the start, got the nod. We were anticipating that was going to be the case. That was kind of the rumblings that we had heard. We started to kind of find out a little bit more what that timeline looked like. It was about 10, 12 days ago that they had found out. As soon as they got into real prep mode for Southern Illinois, they made that decision. The team kept it to themselves. And after all was said and done, at the very least, the 348-yard day, 20 for 30 passing, very efficient, 3 touchdowns, no picks. That was the big one, too. But BYU doesn't just get a dominant win over Southern Illinois. They had a dominant offense. There are a couple things that stood out. It wasn't just 525 yards. So I'm just going to give you I'm just going to absolutely dump all of my thoughts right here, okay, about this one. Because I've had the whole weekend to digest it and kind of think about it. The 527 yards of total offense, awesome. 348 through the air from Jake Retlzaff, great. The 179 on the ground, and it was 182 before they had to take those first 2 kneel downs, because I was like, get over the 180, and then let's see what happens. And so the run game proved itself, at least in week 1 here. And I know it's just Southern Illinois, but you remember how difficult it was to even get the run game going against inferior opponents last year. You got to feel good about this one, and you don't have to have the discussion about who the quarterback is this week. If you would have gone 210, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks, and BYU wins 28-17, then we're having a different discussion, and you're going, well, baby, that's when you got to see Gary Bohannon. And you don't have to have that discussion. I think that's something that's a massive positive for BYU, that right now there is no controversy.
All we're talking about now is the optimism from the performance heading into SMU. Because we understand, right, that it was Southern Illinois. And this actually probably is going to end up being not a very good Southern Illinois team. I don't want to take anything away from what BYU did. It was really about their execution. And I felt they executed at a really high level. I thought the offensive line was back and looked really good. You mentioned the 180 mark. You wanted to see it rushing. They got that. They kept Jake Retlzaff relatively clean. The pocket was clean. Jake was able to do what he needed to do. Jake was 20 of 30. I think you'd like to see his efficiency just a little bit higher against that opponent.
Yeah.
But he had some drops and stuff that weren't his fault, so it happens. But 20 of 30, 348 yards, 3 touchdowns, and you win by 28 points. That's great. That's a great start to the season. And I think that if you're a BYU fan watching that game, you're like, this is much better.
Sure.
Or you're comparing it to last year, right? You're naturally going to compare it to the Sam Houston game and the way that the team started last year, and you're like, this is so much better. It feels better. It feels different. Now, are there concerns moving forward against SMU? Absolutely. I worry about teams with speed being able to get out to the edge. The linebacker play could have been a little bit better, I think. They didn't really test the secondary because they couldn't throw the football. So the secondary is going to be tested in a major way. But Jacob Robinson did have an interception when they tried to test it. So you wonder how that's going to be. You're going to find out a lot about this team on Friday, but for right now, you're a BYU fan. Enjoy this win. There's a lot of positives here. And you can have more confidence in Jake Retlzaff now than you did last year when he was 0-4 as a starter. I saw development. I saw progress. I saw a lot of improvement with him. And we were tough on him in the offseason because of what happened last year. And if you're going to be the quarterback at BYU, you got to play better. It has to be better. And you're now a Power 4 quarterback. It's got to be better. And game 1, it was better. So he deserves credit for that. There's a lot to like about BYU's win. But what really matters is Friday, and that's when we're really going to learn who this BYU team is on the road against a Power 4 opponent who might be a top 25 quality team.
You also saw, on top of all of the things that you were glad that you could have a little bit of that sigh of relief for, you saw some pressure on the quarterback that BYU hadn't had on, again, even inferior opponents last year. You saw Southern Illinois absolutely not able to pick up a lot of the stunts and twists that they were trying to that they were doing on that side of the ball. And you got a sack. John Nelson with a nice sack. You saw who was the one with the
Isaiah Banya.
Isaiah Banya.
Yeah.
Zay Banya with the sack. And you know what? It wasn't just that. They were in the backfield. They had TFLs. 7
TFLs.
They were active.
Yes.
And they were in the backfield, and they were causing some real problems.
Chaos.
Think about how many times last year, and it happened a couple of times on Saturday where they had long third down conversions, right? That was BYU, among all the many things they had a problem with last year. When it was 3rd and 8 and more, you never felt comfortable as a BYU fan. You're like, they're going to figure out a way to give up these 11 yards on this 3rd and 11. They would get a team behind the sticks, and they could always pick up those first downs. And so that's where that kind of pressure, and that's where the chaos kind of comes into play as well. You had guys doing their jobs. You had guys showing up, and even when they tried to fake a punt, what an awful place on the field, by the way, to try to fake that punt.
Yeah.
And they do it, and
BYU was ready for it.
Tanner Wall sniffed it out. And so, look, they've got a lot of things that they can work on. It was a great mix of, hey, you could have done X, Y, and Z better. Hey, you dominated this game from start to finish. 17-6 at the half felt a little.
So the second quarter was not good.
You
lost the second quarter. They got it to 14-6, and you're kind of like, uh-oh.
2 stalled drives, including a missed field goal, and then so it didn't feel there. But again, those are the things that. And then they came out in the second half. They responded. They shut down Southern Illinois on the defensive side, and then they opened it up.
2 straight touchdowns, third quarter. All of a sudden, okay, it's 31-6. We're good.
Right.
You felt a lot better after that.
And in the end, after everything was said and done, now you've got a Friday game against an SMU team that I think we both saw. How many games have we seen from SMU already this year?
2 so far.
2 so far. They had a week 0 game, and then last week's was not a phenomenal output by them as well. I mean, they had a not a very good team that they played, but I do think that SMU and now Wyoming. So now you look at this. Now we start to get a little bit. Snotty, where you go. Well, you should go 3-0 and you're out of conference game because they could really steal one from this SMU team. Now you kind of anticipate if Wyoming hasn't figured their crap out, which it did not look like they did against the worst team in the Big 12 according to the metrics. They lost 48-7 over the weekend.
Wyoming stinks. You can rest. I was worried going into the season. Felt like it was a trap game. I didn't think BYU was going to lose that game, but I felt like it was a trap game. Don't worry about Wyoming.
Uh-oh.
That team stinks, and BYU is going to go up to Laramie and roll, no matter what happens on Friday.
Okay. So here's the good news. You don't have to have this conversation about the quarterback thing. I think that would have just been such a disservice to BYU this week if you go through all that, and then you have Jake Retlzaff go, meh. But that was not the case. In terms of the growing up side of it, where you said, all right, we've seen something different out of Jake Retlzaff. Is it the lesser opponent thing, or has Jake Retlzaff figured some things out at this level that has gotten him down to the point where you go, okay, that's why BYU picked him up out of the JC, out of the junior college situation in California, because he threw for almost 6,000 yards in those 2 seasons down there in California. So that's the guy who they got, and I think that now he's started to pick up the speed of the game. This is something that, again, this team hasn't won, and he had never won as a starter. This team hasn't won since October 21st. We talked about how big of a deal that was to be able to say, man, it sucks to be in a losing locker room. It must have been awesome on Saturday, considering the circumstances. Having Jay Hill back in there to celebrate with the team must have been awesome for him.
It was a lift. Everything on Saturday was a lift, and you don't care about the opponent. BYU just needed to feel good, and I think fans that watched the game needed to feel good about the team again. Because last year was rough.
Yep.
That stretch was rough. Watching your team lose, 5 in a row? That's rough.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
And you're going into this season, and there's a lot of doubt. There really is. And I don't think the doubt is completely washed away, but some of it was. Like the quarterback situation, it's pretty clear. Jake Retlzaff is the guy. He won the job, and he played like it on Saturday. You feel better about that. You feel better about the run game. You feel better about the offensive line. They got pressure on a quarterback. They got 2 sacks. They only had 11 all year last year. They already have 2, right? You feel better about every single thing that was a concern. So, yeah, enjoy the week and get excited about a game against an SMU team that will be a true test for your team on the road. If they get that win against SMU, you're going to win in Laramie. You're halfway to bowl eligibility.
There you go. Let's play some sound here from the weekends. We have a ton of it, and obviously getting to kind of where these teams are and being able to figure out moving on to the next. I mean, having that, you got to get into a rhythm of the season, right? All these guys, they get used to playing a game, breaking down film, getting yourself physically right, going in, getting yourself ready for your next opponent. Jake Retlzaff, here's what he said about I want to go straight to this one about the quarterback part and the quarterback battle that they had. He said that he had known for a while he was going to be the starter, but this is what he said about what the quarterback battle did for him because he feels like it made him a better player.
Competition makes everybody better, especially everybody involved in and everybody outside of us. Everybody's, attention to detail. Everybody's intensity was a little higher. I believe that for sure because of a competition in all of fall camp and all of the offseason. So the preparation's for sure there because it pushed me to be more prepared than ever in order to win that job because I was going against a really good quarterback on the other side of that competition.
On top of it, I think that now, instead of doing I've got to be better than the guy next to me, you're doing the part where it's like, let's get this system down. And he actually talked about that because the offense that A-Rod has put together, when it's clicking, it feels fun. It's a lot. There's a lot going on. Obviously, the trick plays came out already this part, but he knows that this offense is a really, really good one.
It is, I would say, but we knew who we are. We're confident in ourselves. Everybody in that offense knows what we can do. I think it's a validation more for you guys than anything because we're confident in our abilities and guys went out there and played just as good as they knew they would play. I'm super proud of those guys for being able to do that.
All right. So then you have Kalani Sitake, who was already asked, well, one, about what they took away from that win against Southern Illinois now that he had the weekend to kind of digest it.
Really feel that we can play better and play cleaner, but really proud of the way the guys played overall, and glad the guys excited about the game, but also took it as a challenge, but a lot of room to improve still.
Now, here's the part that I wanted to know about was the prep for SMU, because they also have a quarterback situation that's kind of wild, a little bit weird. And they're doing the two. Are they still doing the two quarterback thing? Did they do it on Saturday as well? They've been kind of mixed results with the two quarterback system.
Stone played all the way up until they had a 35-0 lead, and then Jennings came in to finish the game.
So here's what they said about SMU and whether or not they feel like they're going to play more than one quarterback.
Yeah, I think you have to be prepared for all of it. So, I mean, that's just kind of how the game of football works. And so I think they have to prepare for it and we have to prepare for it. And from what I saw this last week, they have a bunch of quarterbacks that can play and they can run that offense effectively.
They got 5 or 6 guys. They got 5 or 6 quarterbacks, man, that can make a difference.
Man, how does BYU and SMU have an abundance of quarterbacks that are really good?
Maybe they should
fortunate.
Maybe we should swap a couple guys. We'll take your 3rd and 4th quarterbacks. You don't take ours?
Share the quarterbacks with everybody else. You're hogging them all.
Listen, after this weekend, I am confident in saying that BYU has got at least the 13th or 12th or 13th best quarterback situation in the Big 12 right now.
It's better than Houston's.
It's not 15. Oh, yeah. It is better than Houston. It's better than Arizona State.
We'll get into that later in the show. Not a great weekend for the Big 12, honestly.
They went 14-2. What do you mean it's not a good?
There's question marks about a lot of teams in the league. I even have question marks about Arizona, despite what they did.
Put up 60 on Broncos defense? Come on.
Yes, Montana State beat New Mexico. That doesn't impress me. They were losing for a good chunk of that game.
They won by
not only hanging with them, but outplaying them at one point.
All right. You know what?
That's a two-man team.
Hey, Jeremy,
that is a two-man team.
What was the over-under on that
really
game?
Good, though.
Was it 90, and then they ended up taking the over at 100 points that they scored?
Something like that.
It was honestly a 61-39 game. It was 100 points scored in that game. I love it. Here's what Kalani said about... Now, this is the part. I was going to break this one down for you, JJ, because I have thoughts on what he said. When it was asked today about, first of all, we use this clip a lot, or we use this term a lot, but the quit asking part about the quarterback, I'm at that point now. And Kalani was asked about Gary Bohannon, what his role is going to be this week.
We know what we're doing. I'm not going to tell you guys our game plan. SMU has the ability to watch this too. So you guys are trying to give it away, man. We know what we got. We know the talent that we have on our team. And there's always a threat of him being on the field.
Let me just say something. They have their quarterback. Gary Bohannon in his role this next week is going to be a backup quarterback role. And it's going to be that way until Jake Retlzaff plays himself out of it or gets injured. And so asking about what the role of Gary Bohannon is going to be this weekend, Kalani's not going to tell you, one, because of their game plan part, but he also has nothing to tell you. He's going to be the freaking backup quarterback. He's going to play the same way he did against Southern Illinois. If he comes in for a couple of wildcat snaps or whatever, I don't know. Is that what they're asking? He's going to come in and throw 15 passes? Like, no. Gary Bohannon is now the backup quarterback, and that's the role he's going to play this week. You put Gary Bohannon in when your guy gets injured or when he has 5 picks in a row and they've got to figure something else out. Am I wrong? Why are we asking about Gary Bohannon? Because until further notice,
did they ask about the punter, too? Did they ask about the punter battle? Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I'm so over it. Like,
Kalani doesn't need to act like Chris Hansen's in the room asking him questions. Like, chill. You're not going to jail, Kalani. Relax.
You guys, I'm not going to give it away. Stop asking about the game plan.
I'm not going to tell you what we're doing with our quarterbacks. Why would I tell you that?
Guess what they're doing? Jake Retlzaff is going to throw the ball 35 times. And Gary Bohannon might get in if they're winning by enough at the end of the game, or if he gets tripped up, his shoe falls off, his helmet comes off on one of the plays, he's got to come off for one play.
They're going to do what 99.9% of every football team does. They roll at their starting quarterback and he plays the game until they're up by multiple touchdowns and they can put their backup in to get a few reps.
But
Gary took a knee 5 times or something, right? I mean, he handed the ball. I mean, it wasn't like he was going out there, let's see what Gary can do.
Why on earth?
There was no special packages for Gary. This is not how this works.
This is what happens. And look, I want to apologize for the sports media here locally. Here's why. They've been watching for months a 2-quarterback system, and they just don't know what else to ask at this point. They're like, hey, so what's Gary going to do this week? Because they've been asking about the quarterbacks constantly over the past few months. Listen, this is the best situation you can have. A guy
You shouldn't be asking about the backup quarterback.
A guy
ever.
established who he was. They picked that guy. He proved it on Saturday, and until further notice, that battle is over. So it's not continuing the rest of this week. The starting quarterback for BYU is Jake Retlzaff. If Gary Bohanna gets in the game, fine. If they got a couple of plays that they want to figure out for him, fine. Okay, but let Jake Retlzaff cook. Okay, let him do his thing. All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back. We've got more around the corner. We've got a first week of college football. Things we were impressed by, things we were not impressed by. Teams that need to absolutely just punt it until 2025. All right? We'll talk about that and much more. Stay with us right here, 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Aggies hit the road to Southern California for a battle against USC. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I'm watching it on mute, but Brian Kelly's fist. You got the audio of it, right? Yeah. We can get it in a second because I know we were going to play it a little bit later, but I'm watching it. I'm only watching when he pounded the table. It seemed so fake. It seemed like he was, and I think that I don't agree with Paul Feinbaum all the time, but he was like, you get paid $11 million a year. Maybe don't just go out there and put the acting job on during the post game about how upset you are about all this. Like, come on.
Everyone knows Brian Kelly's fake, right?
Yeah.
Remember the whole accent thing last year? The guy's a phony. He's a fraud.
Oh, yeah.
Although that was pretty impressive, the water bottle elevation off the table.
It jumped.
On the
it didn't knock it over, but it jumped.
No, it was almost like one of those bottle flipping things.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. So
it landed perfectly. It didn't tip over.
The bottom line is LSU takes the loss. I'm going to be honest. I did not have USC coming out game one and looking tough. How did they not fire Alex Grinch 2 years ago when they were giving up 40 points a game? That defense for USC was not tough until this year. Like, honestly, last night, them beating LSU in Vegas, that was a huge deal. By the way, speaking of whiplashes that you get and logos that you do not imagine being on teams' jerseys, SMU having the ACC logo on their jersey was a weird moment. Looking at the Big Ten logo on the jersey of USC last night was super weird. Yeah. I was like, whoa. Doesn't matter how much we talk about it when you actually see it. And so the Big Ten got a big win over the SEC last night. The USC Trojans. First week of college football in the books, JJ. I'll tell you some of the things that got my attention. One, Florida is really freaking bad, and Billy Napier might not make it through the season.
Truth.
What did they lose to? What was the final? It was like 41 to.
I got it here.
It was not. It was a three. It was a 3-score. 41-17.
41-17. It wasn't even that close.
Right. I mean, that's a 3.5 score game right there. And
yeah, here's the Miami had 529 yards of total offense. Florida 261.
Wow.
They threw for 385 yards. Florida threw for 122. That's not good.
Michigan eked one out over Fresno State, who's easily the 6th or 7th best team in the Mountain West this year.
We talked about Michigan being way overrated this year.
Way overrated.
They lost it. And look, Michigan is Michigan. They'll win games. I'm just saying they're not national championship contenders. I'm not sure they're a playoff team. They've just lost too much talent. It's next year, the year after that, I'm sure they'll reload and they'll be fine. We'll see what they can do post Jim Harbaugh. Mm-hmm. I think Sherrone Moore, he did a really good job last year, but that was still Jim Harbaugh's team. Jim Harbaugh was still pulling the strings on all of the stuff that happened last year. Now he's not. So, there's a lot of change there with Michigan. I don't think they're in that realm this season. And to think that otherwise is I mean, it's going to be play out, and you're going to see that that's not the case.
The Kalen DeBoer era at Alabama gets underway. Was it 59-0 against Western Kentucky? Either way, nice showing.
I hate these FCS. Can we stop?
Western Kentucky's not FCS. Aren't they FBS?
Yeah. See,
Hey,
we're sitting here questioning
Jeremy,
it. That's all you need
Jeremy,
to know.
What conference are
They're
the,
group of 5.
What
Sunbelt, right?
Hilltoppers?
Sunbelt. Fun
Don't
belt.
talk trash about Bailey Zappi's freaking alma mater.
Or the best mascot in all sports, the Blob.
The Blob is pretty good. I don't know if he's better than Cosmo, but he's pretty good. Georgia rolls and impressed. Obviously, we saw that before the weekend happened. I'm not sure what to think about Ohio State. I'm not sure what to think about Oregon, who struggled this weekend, by the way.
Against Idaho.
Against freaking Idaho. That is an FCS program.
Go Big Sky.
But the Kalen DeBoer era gets underway, and it's not bad. Not bad at all. And when do we get a new AP poll, by the way? Is it tomorrow? Is it supposed to be tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Because they normally do it. I thought they did it on Sundays.
It's a holiday week.
They can't. Okay.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's different this week.
They need to know how load about Florida State when they lose.
I was gonna say because Florida State might not find itself anywhere near. I could see them. I think
Florida
there's
State one good elite team in the ACC this year, and there's a big gap between them and everybody else in that league.
Are you talking about Miami?
I am.
Wow. I can't stand Mario Cristobal, but I can't argue.
I know
with you right now.
Clemson was playing Georgia. Like Georgia's going to kick everyone's tail, but that was like 3 points. That's the best you can do.
Yeah, it was really embarrassing.
I mean, I'm not sold on Clemson. Virginia Tech lost at Vandy. Who's the good team in the ACC besides Miami after 1 week? Are we convinced that there's any? North Carolina needed a miracle to beat Minnesota. That's not the team, right? Minnesota had to miss a field goal at the end of the game for North Carolina to escape.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on that team. I mean, Georgia Tech isn't really that good, are they? NC State struggled with Western Carolina, so it's not them. I'm just going through all these teams in the ACC, and they're just not good.
How about teams that you were impressed by that you because I mean, I'm going to be honest, it's hard not to look at Ole Miss and say they were underrated, but I think they might be. Now, again, they're playing Furman, but Jackson Dart, Kaysville's own Jackson Dart, threw for 440 yards in the first half, 5 touchdowns, and ran for another one. That guy should be firmly planted in the Heisman Trophy conversation, if not the lead, right there next to Tet McMillan after the weekends that those two guys had. Ole Miss might be scarier than even Alabama. And Alabama blew out Western Kentucky by 59 points. Did Ole Miss end up getting to 80? It was just 76.
They could have. It was 76.
76 to
They scored
0.
24 points in the first quarter, 28 in the second, 21 in the third, and they took the foot off the gas in the fourth quarter and only scored
kicked the
3.
field goal. Yeah. So, in the end, after this weekend,
not a great weekend for the SEC either.
Nope. Now, you said something about not being a great weekend for the Big 12. Explain yourself. Because Houston, we knew wasn't going to be very good. Are we just surprised that they were worse than we even thought they were going to be because they lost to UNLV 27-7?
Yes. Why are they getting their tail kicked by UNLV at home?
I had the same question.
That wasn't good.
I had the same question, but I also we were kind of anticipating that they were not going to be good this year, right? I didn't know about getting like almost shut out by UNLV at home, but I did look and say,
Colorado almost and should have lost to an FCS opponent at home.
Okay. Conference went 14-2.
TCU
Come on.
barely beat Stanford, who's picked to finish 17th in the ACC.
But an improved Troy Taylor Stanford squad. Eh?
Okay.
All right.
Just looking around, Arizona, they've got 2 of the best players in the conference, and that's it. That's a 2-man team. And if somebody figures out how to at least contain Tet McMillan, you beat Arizona.
Okay.
Iowa State 21-3 at home against North Dakota.
Okay. UCF.
Texas.
They played New Hampshire. They won 57-3.
I got another one that was like,
you were saying Colorado. We assumed was going to lose actually to North Dakota State.
But yeah,
so they eked out the win. That's a little bit better. We knew that was going to be a tough game. Okay, West Virginia and Houston are the only losses that the conference took this weekend, and Penn State is the number 8 team in the country. They beat West Virginia by it was 34-12. So now they were playing at Morgantown. So that's not a good look. But Oklahoma State came out of the gates faster than they did last year. Kansas State took care of business against UT Martin. Arizona, say what you will about giving up almost 40 to New Mexico. They still have one of the most electric tandems of quarterback and wide receiver we've already ever seen out of that school. Cincinnati got the win. Everybody.
Cincinnati was up 11 at the half at Towson.
Okay.
Against Towson.
Towson. All right.
Don't call us Towson State.
Okay. Baylor rolled. Iowa State rolled. Arizona State shockingly rolled as much as they did against Wyoming.
How'd Texas Tech do?
Texas Tech got an overtime win, I'll have you know.
Against who?
Who was it? Nah, it's escaping my mind at this point.
That powerhouse.
Oh, Abilene Christian, ACU.
Called Abilene Christian.
No. They're right there. They're right there. Abilene's pretty close to Lubbock. It's not. It's a stone's throw away.
Must have felt like a home game for Abilene Christian because they gave Texas Tech a scare.
Yeah, how about 52-51? That was a shock, but they still got the win. It goes down. We're not going to remember what the actual score was at the end of the year when that one counts as a W.
I know. I'm being a little picky, but I think the league could have been a little bit more dominant in some of these games where it was just a little too close for me.
Okay. All right.
And a lot of teams played FCS or lower level group of 5. It was just not a good week to evaluate the conference. That week will be next week.
All right. I'm all for it. I love it. College football's underway. And then next week, you're going to have a lot fewer FCS opponents, I promise. All right? Everybody takes a break from the FCS to get the real games. That's going to be the shock, right? We've got all week to talk about. It's going to be a fun one. All right, we'll take the break here. We will come back. We've got more to go around the corner. Nominate your youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Easy enough to do. You submit that nomination at KSLSports.com/contests. Every Thursday afternoon, JJ and I read off the winner. Help us celebrate those efforts of the volunteers by making a nomination today for that person that impacts your youth in your area. You know somebody that is doing a phenomenal job helping those kids. It's the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals. We'll take the break. We'll come back. We've got more to go after our Utes at 50 update. We'll give you the Weekend Warriors right around the corner, the people who won the weekend. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Cougars hit the road for a huge matchup against SMU. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone. Alex Keary, Jeremiah Jensen. Thanks for being with us on a Labor Day. I hope you're taking the day off, man. I hope you're getting all the rest you need to get ready for the rest of this week. It's a short week for BYU football. They're going to take on SMU down in Dallas on Friday. Baylor coming to town for the Utes. Who's Utah State got this week?
Fight on. At the Coliseum.
What did we...
USC.
Listen.
America's darlings.
I'm going to have to stand by what I said.
The Giant Killer. The Giant Killer. They took down that dominant, incredible program led by Brian Kelly at LSU.
What a great guy.
Juggernaut. I don't know how they did it.
Of all the things that happened this weekend, though, there were some amazing performances, of course. We talked a little bit about the 400-plus yard day through the air for Jackson Dart in just one half. 5 touchdowns thrown, 445 yards, and then 1 on the ground as well. 6 touchdowns in his first game of the year. Your Weekend Warrior brought to you by the folks at Gillette Heating and Air Conditioning. Right now, seasonal maintenance can be done on your furnace. It's getting into that time of the year. You got to figure it out. $59 for that seasonal maintenance. Check it out. GilletteHVAC.com. If you're thinking right now, I got to get that figured out about my furnace, let's get it going. Get the seasonal maintenance done. $59 only. Gillette Heating HVAC. GilletteHVAC.com is the website. All right. Boise State has a running back who's really darn good. I was not when I was just following the score line on this game between them and Georgia Southern, all I could think was, well, Boise State's not figuring it out, but their running back obviously has so far. Take a listen.
Back on offense. Ashton Genty, breaks free. Has a player tracking him down. It's TJ Smith. Can he get to him? Genty, touchdown. Get out of town. 75 yards.
Ended with 267, Ashton Genty did. 6 touchdowns.
20 carries.
On 20 carries. Not bad.
Jeez.
Not bad. I know it was Georgia Southern, but Boise State, my goodness, they might have one of the best running backs in the country. I know it's just been 1 week, but that's kind of where you're at with your with what Ashton Genty's been doing with this Bronco team so far.
Their other running back, Sire Gaines, had 12 carries, 110 yards, and a touchdown. They had 7 rushing touchdowns as a group.
Okay,
pretty dominant performance. Boise State, if they can figure out something on defense,
I was going to say
they're the front runners for that group of 5 spot in the playoff.
All right,
they look pretty good. They've got talent. I mean, nobody in the Mountain West has anybody that's close to Ashton Genty at that level. That's an NFL running back.
Speaking of guys who catapulted themselves in week 1 into that Heisman conversation, Tet McMillan, T-Mac, he only had 10 catches, and he went for 304 yards and 4 touchdowns in the win over New Mexico. Yes, Arizona needed every bit of it, too, because they were at one point trailing. It was very close. They ended up getting the win 61-39 over New Mexico. Tet McMillan is really darn good.
3rd down and 10. Wildcats 1 for 3 on 3rd down tonight. Here's Fafita. Plenty of time. Throwing, and that's complete. The T-Mac. T-Mac. A house call. Again. It's his 3rd. This one from 78 yards out.
10 catches, 304 yards for T-Mac. Ridiculous. He might be the best wide receiver in the country. At least he showed this week why Washington was absolutely foolish not to offer $1 gajillion for he and Noah Fafita to go up to Washington with their former coach. Vandy gets the win over Virginia Tech. You didn't think you were going to hear a Vanderbilt highlight in week 1 of the program. In week 1 of college football.
I don't think I've ever heard one in my life.
Well, take a listen because now we're going to force it on you.
2 tight ends with Stowers and Spence. Running back is Alexander. Near hash here for Vandy. The snap, it's a play action. Pavia goes to the far sideline. Gets a block, lowers the shoulder. Touchdown, Vandy. Pavia from 5.
All they needed to do was go get a New Mexico State quarterback.
Hey.
That's what the missing ingredient for Vanderbilt.
Well, they picked up a Utah quarterback, too. Nate Johnson, backup duties at Vandy, right?
That's correct.
So there you go. And then finally, your weekend warrior, somebody who won the weekend here for you. Utah State, of course, has quite a weird situation up there at quarterback. Spencer Petras goes down. We'll have thoughts on what Utah State's going to be doing this year, but they got the win over Robert Morris. Bryson Barnes comes in off the bench, scores 3 touchdowns, helps the Aggies with the win. Here's what it sounded like.
White comes in motion to the outside, fake the swing pass. Barnes looking to the far side, has Royals wide open at the 5. Royals into the end zone. Touchdown, Utah State. Jalen Royals. His first touchdown of what will be many in 2024.
There you go. How many yards did Jalen Royals end up with? 5 catches, 77 yards. Good start. Solid start.
He wasn't even the leading receiver.
Right. More importantly, they get the win. So Aggies get the win over Robert Morris, and Bryson Barnes comes in. I think we were wondering, are we going to see more Bryson Barnes? The answer is yes. I don't know what's the long-term ankle situation for Spencer Petras. Going to be out maybe a couple games? Or
hasn't been announced yet. I think it's kind of probably like a game-to-game type thing probably.
All right.
But I would be shocked if Bryson Barnes isn't under center at the Coliseum once again.
Oh, boy.
Saturday.
He's done that before. Did it last year.
Just last year, beat Caleb Williams head-to-head. Isn't that crazy?
That's bonkers. To say it like that, he's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, you should be starting a quarterback up at Utah State. All right. We'll take the break here. We'll come back. When we do return, we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that were said at Kyle Whittingham's weekly press conference. We'll talk about some of these injuries. We have an update on Keenan Johnson. Aliki Vimahi also we have an update on, but not a good one for Keenan Johnson, obviously. That was a tough one for the Utes. We'll come back. We'll talk more right around the corner, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? It's a Saturday matinee battle for the Utes as they welcome in Baylor to Rice-Eccles Stadium. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Penalties were not excessive, maybe one or two too many, but not anything excessive. Did turn the ball over a couple times, lost the turnover margin, which we rarely do. I was -1 in the turnover margin, but a lot of good stuff. We played very efficiently for the most part.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Happy Labor Day. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen, JJ and Alex, right here on the program here with you. Oh, my goodness. It's going to be full on this week, JJ. The NFL gets underway officially on Thursday. That means that our entire weekend is going to be, looks like I'm going to be busy watching some football.
Bummer.
What gets you the most excited? And I know I asked you about, like, if you could just watch one, college football or the NFL, you pick the NFL. But, like, honestly, the NFL getting fired up this year, that always brings kind of a Christmas Day situation for us where we go, oh, yeah, now we're back into it. But college football has so many more question marks, which is maybe why it's not as fun sometimes where you go. But for me, you go, yeah, hold on a minute, though. We thought we knew everything about these teams, or you try to guess in the offseason what it's going to be like. And even the bad teams may not be as bad as you think, and even some of the good teams you think are going to be good are not very good.
Yeah, but we wait all season long, and we're excited to watch these teams play. And then week one, Power 4 teams are playing FCS football teams. It's ridiculous. Like, what would be the comparison for the NFL? Like, the NFL taking the first week to play, I don't know. Like, what is the new league that they started? The
UFL.
The UFL.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if they just played UFL teams week one? Like, would you be psyched up for that?
No, I get it.
So what are we doing here?
I had the same conversation. I'm on board with.
I get the
eliminating
stuff, but you had all camp to get tuned up. I want to see some really good matchups week one, like LSU USC. Who was not entertained last night? That was great.
Who was it? Jake Hatch and I were talking about this on the BYU pre and post game. I don't remember which one, but it was. I always make my point about how the FCS games. I don't get them. I don't really understand why it's become a part of the game where you play somebody in a division below you to get ready for the season, or sometimes in the middle of the season, right?
Well, you do it to chalk up an easy W with no pressure, and the other team has to do it to keep their programs running so they can get a check.
Right. You can keep those programs afloat. The larger conferences of football need to help when it comes to that, right? The FBS.
That's their way of helping.
I know. I'm just saying that they can carve out some money for those programs, keep them going, all right? Without having to play them. Now, Jake Hatch brought something up, and he goes, now there's been a conversation about maybe playing some of those games in the spring. Like, that's your spring game against an FCS team. Think about how much more excited look, if you're going to play a team, that's when I want you to play it, because if there was a real game or a real, off-season, preseason game, a spring game that you could sell tickets for, if SUU came up to BYU in the spring, it didn't count against your record, didn't count for anything except for maybe you do pay that team for coming up. I know there would be injury concerns, but at the same time, we'd have a spring football game against big teams against FCS teams. That's when I would allow it. That doesn't get your blood going.
There's no reason for it. Why?
Think about That's how you get your team. That's how you finish off your spring. Not this not the inter-squad blue versus white. Go, invite your fans to come see them. Get 25,000 fans in there. Get your biggest boosters in there. Come on.
That's fine. Do that. But I just stop playing week 1 games like this. It's just not. And we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about it. We watched every second of them. But I don't know what I learned about BYU and Utah State this week. I'm very concerned about Utah State. They
definitively started the season this year, JJ. Their season officially started.
Okay, but what was gained from that? I guess the team, they can answer that. But
no,
I'm talking from a fan point of view, from a spectator point of view, from somebody who wants to be entertained by watching college football. And this is why college football has become big business, is because we all enjoy the entertainment aspect of it, and we're tuning in. You're not delivering with these FCS games because it's just, what are we doing here? Like, why would you want to watch Ole Miss beat Furman 76-0?
Hey, there you go.
What is gained from that? And then you have Jackson Dart, those numbers are great. I mean, he's really good. But then you're questioning whether it really matters, and that's not fair to him.
Right.
He went out there and did his job. So it's just, I'm fine with these teams playing group of 5 teams. I'm fine with Utah playing Utah State. That's not what I'm talking about here. It's the FC. The gap has grown so big. 10, 15, 20 years ago, wasn't that big of a deal. And you saw more FCS upsets. Remember, App State over Michigan. App State was a high-end FCS team. Michigan wasn't as great as they were. You saw upsets. You're not seeing those upsets very much anymore. Did we have one FCS over Power 4 upset this week? Was there one? I'm hearing crickets.
Yeah, we usually get one, don't we?
Right. Because the gap is bigger than it's ever been before. So they need to stop scheduling these games.
Okay.
Go get a group of 5 game. Utah play Fresno State week 1. Don't play Southern Utah.
Play a team from your conference and call it a non-conference game. Hey, that's what the Utes are doing this week. Let's kick off our program. Everything, of course, on this show brought to you by the folks at G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. You can find them at Costco. Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, all in the refrigerated section. Let's kick off the hour as we always do with the cut. We'll jump in right here with some of the cuts from the latest from Kyle Whittingham's press conference today. Let's jump in right here.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right. This portion of the show brought to you by an incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. It's the Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Great service starts with know-how, and nobody knows like Doug Smith. All right. Things that we took away from this one, you can go to KSLSports.com right now and read Steve Bartle's write-up about this Kyle Whittingham press conference. Well, let's take a listen to some of the couple bites from here. We'll bring you these every week. Here's what he said about the running back situation. I think that was the part where everybody looked and went, so who's the guy? I don't know if you necessarily got the answer. You certainly had a lot of guys taking snaps. You had Dijon Stanley's awesome 3 catches for 150, not a bad average, 50 yards per, a couple touchdowns. Here's what Kyle Whittingham said about the running back room.
I thought we played a fairly clean game. There's some things that we can do better, as there is every single week. I thought we ran the ball just okay. We had 185 yards rushing, but we like to get that 5 yards a carry statistic, and we were just shy of that.
Boy, it must be nice, right?
Greedy. I know a lot of teams in the country would be overjoyed with 4.7 yards per carry and 185 yards and a touchdown. They have a high standard at Utah.
They do. And look, it's SUU. You should be having one of your bigger games against SUU. And they did. Here's what he said about Dijon Stanley, by the way. This is a guy who I think broke out onto the scene. I don't think any of us saw him having 150 yards receiving this weekend, but in that first game on Thursday. But here's what he said about Dijon Stanley and how well he's playing.
Well, he sure was productive Thursday night and was a big play guy for us. I don't think he's quite yet ready for every down type of a back, but he certainly will have an expanded package as the season goes on if he continues to have the impact that he did. Did everything really well in the game Thursday night, nearly 200 yards of offense, receiving and rushing, and so he's a weapon for us. At least he was in that first game, and if we can create some more big chunk yardage plays with him in the future, that's that could be a niche that he could fill for us this year.
That's an interesting He's an interesting, study because we kind of had him as being think about it, we had Mekhi Bernard, Jalen Glover, Mike Mitchell, and then Dijon Stanley's name came up fourth, and he was the guy who was the most productive the other night, and it was through the air.
He was also their leading rusher.
How many yards did he have?
He had more rushing yards than anyone on the team by one over Mekhi Bernard. So he had 6 carries, 34 yards. It's just 5.7 yards per carry. Had a 14-yard run, and then obviously led the team in receiving. It was a weird game, and this is again we opened the segment talking about the FCS thing. They just didn't have a lot of possessions and plays in their possessions. There wasn't a lot of touches. Cam Rising threw 15 passes in the game, right? I mean, in 5 touchdowns. So 1 out of every 3 throws that Cameron Rising had was a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Not bad.
Right.
Good numbers.
You just because they had the big scores and big gains, just guys didn't get a lot of touches. Although they did run the ball 39 times, but it was spread out among a lot of guys. Isaac Wilson, by the way, 5 carries, which was just 1 short of the team lead. Right?
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my point is, it's really hard to evaluate this offense and individual players within the offense because you're really excited about what Dijon Stanley did, but this is not a normal game.
Yeah.
You're going to get to see that against Baylor this week because this is a normal game. This is a Power 4 opponent, not a conference game, but it is a conference team that you're going to be facing. It's a great test for Utah this weekend to see where they're at, and so I don't think Dijon Stanley is going to be able to do what he did against Baylor that he did at Southern Utah, but I could be wrong. But I think you're going to see guys that didn't get a lot of touches in the Southern Utah game suddenly get a lot. Like Mekhi Bernard's going to have a lot more workload than 5 carries against Baylor, right?
Yeah.
Mike Mitchell's going to have more than 6 carries against Baylor. And Cam Rising's going to throw twice as many passes against Baylor as he did against Southern Utah,
right?
Which will help us evaluate him more.
Probably won't have 5 touchdowns in the first half either. But, again, this is what happens in your first game of the year against an FCS team that's
It's tough to evaluate.
Yes.
It's really hard to evaluate.
Here's what Kyle Whittingham said about Keenan Johnson, and of course that was a tough one. But this is how the defensive back room is going to figure it out with Keenan being out for the rest of the season.
Smith Snowden played exceptionally well at the nickel spot on the inside. He is very capable of playing on the outside as well, so you might see that happen. Scooby Davis came in and gave us some good reps. We get Cam. Cam's back this week at corner. That'll give us another guy that had a very good spring and was showing promise. And so it's right now we don't have the exact answer and configuration, but we'll take a look at the configurations in practice and determine in the next day or two what the best one's going to be.
Good news is you lose a guy for the rest of the season, but you have tremendous depth. This is why
Scooby Davis came in and got a pick.
Right. This is why having the personnel that Utah does and being able to put that on the field every week and having guys who are ready to play. Like, honestly, the 2 and 3 deep for the Utes could play anywhere in this conference at defensive back. Is that insane to say it like that?
No.
But I think that's why they are a Power 5 team that was already ready to come in there this season in the Big 12 and be a favorite because they have the depth that you need to be able to survive in a big conference like this, and they're better than everybody else on defense.
It is a tough blow. Kenan Johnson was going to hold down that other corner spot opposite of Zamiah Vaughn, and you need somebody to balance that out because Zamiah's got it locked on the other side. You need somebody on the opposite side that's going to be able to do the same, and Kenan was going to be that guy. Now it's time for somebody to step up, but you still believe in their secondary. I don't even know if they'll get tested this weekend. Baylor's not a team that's going to light the scoreboard up with passing. That's not how they're going to play on Saturday. It'll probably be a minute before we see a team that really challenges that secondary.
Right.
But they'll figure it out. Next man up mentality. Utah's used to this. They've had a lot of guys go through this, and they'll figure it out.
Here's what he had to say about the tight ends, and obviously the tight ends and wide receivers got a lot of work this last weekend. But again, speaking of positions that are very, very deep, and everybody's waiting to see if Dorian Singer, like everyone was waiting for 150 yards out of Dorian Singer last week, but the opportunity presented itself with the mismatches that they had for Dijon Stanley to catch those balls that he did. Here's what he said about the tight ends and wide receivers.
Some weeks the tight ends will be more involved and more the core of the plan. And some weeks it's wide receivers. I think it's matchups, the type of defense that we're facing, their personnel. Are they playing nickel? Are they playing 43? So all that stuff goes into play. But one thing that's a big positive is we have the luxury of being able to attack different ways and have a lot of weapons for Cam and Coach Ludwig to utilize.
Okay. You don't love to hear that if you're if you're the wide receivers. You go, yeah. Some weeks we're going to give the wide receivers a shot. Other weeks it's going to be all tight ends all day.
14 personnel, which they ran.
They ran a bunch, by the way,
and successfully.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm one of those guys that loves the. I love the idea of the tight ends getting all the work, but I do want to see that Dorian Singer breakout.
Yeah.
You think Dorian Singer doesn't see what Tech McMillan is doing at the school that he was at a couple of years ago and goes, hey, man, 300 yards in one game? I could do that too. I just had to have somebody throwing me the ball that many times.
He only played half the game.
Yeah, it's fine.
And you're going to see a Baylor. He's going to play a much bigger role against Baylor. And Brant Keithy was awesome. 4 catches, 69 yards, 3 touchdowns, just like usual.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Back to work for Brant Keithy. And a lot of these guys were limited in their targets and catches because they just weren't out there long enough. And the possessions were short. Cam only threw 15 balls. There was only 10 caught. So there's not a lot there for these guys to get. And then the second half, you had guys like Caleb Lohner and Luca Caldarella and Tyshawn Lyons get catches.
Mm-hmm.
Dadrian Zipperer, who looked pretty good too.
Yep.
In that second unit. But it was about developing your depth here. And now you know a guy like Dadrian Zipperer can come in and make some plays. Caleb Lohner can certainly get it done at the tight end position if they need to call on him. We didn't even see some guys that I think are going to figure into their game plan offensively moving forward. We just didn't get to see them make any plays because they just wasn't enough time and there wasn't enough reps because they scored so quickly.
All right, let's.
Saturday will be fascinating.
It will be interesting. I'm all for it. I'm all for seeing what this thing is going to bring. When Baylor comes to town, you could see, like, Dave Aranda is playing with his hair on. Well, he doesn't have any, but he's playing with his hair on fire. I can say that I'm a fellow bald person. Okay, we don't say things like, we don't use terms like playing with.
So you
their
have
hair
a bald
on fire.
pass. You can make fun of bald people. Okay.
Look, and there's certain things you don't say. Because saying playing with your hair on fire it's downright sacrilegious for us people who are hair envious.
The thought of just letting your hair burn. It's like the rich person throwing money on the fire.
He did what to his hair?
Like, could you give me some of that?
Yeah. So Dave Aranda has got something to prove, which is
keep his job.
Keeping his job hard. I got something to prove. What's that, honey? That's what he says to his wife. I got something to prove. What is that? That I can stay employed this year? Good start, again, against an FCS opponent this last week, but there you go. All right. We'll take the break. We've got more to go. When we return, oh, my goodness. Did we use all the sound, by the way? The Kyle Whittingham sound that we Okay. I'm just making sure. I didn't want to leave anything on the table here. We do have a ton. Yeah, I was just saying I didn't want to have Jeremy cut it up and then have me.
Alex never allows there to be leftovers.
No, look. Again.
That fat joke?
Is that a fat
hey,
joke?
I'm on Salt Lake City Fat Loss too. I get a fat pass. We can make these jokes.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm not exactly petite either.
Hey, does Lagoon sell the fat pass this year? Come on down. Here's the ride you can ride. Our insurance adjusters allow you to ride that ride only. Look, I've been a guy who's barely fit into some roller coasters before. Oh, my goodness. What are we doing with our lives, Jeremiah?
Yeah, we got problems.
We're dropping weight. That's what we're doing.
We are.
Okay. Things are going well. Let me see here. I'm trying to think about, because the next couple of weeks, so Utah's got Baylor this weekend at home, and then they go up to Maverick Stadium in Logan. That I think that, frankly, you're going to still see this Utah State team trying to get their feet under them. I know that's not – you give – what was that face? What was that face?
I'm worried about Utah State.
Me too. Worried about Nate Dreiling. I know that I know Jeremy's going to roll this out at some point this week because I did say months ago that I thought Utah State – now, a lot has changed, okay? since that fateful day that I said that I thought Utah State was going to go in and upset USC this year down at the Coliseum. It's probably not a good year to make that prediction.
Is that
right?
who's their defensive coordinator now?
Oh, yeah.
It's not Alex Grinch.
It's not Alex Grinch.
Then Utah State has no chance.
They played their freaking butts off against LSU, man.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Maybe there'll be a little bit of a Vegas hangover for USC.
Hope so.
I mean, at the very least, you can say that Lincoln Riley kind of gets his guys. I mean, inconsistency's been his deal. So maybe that'll be the case.
Well, you know what? Trap game?
Yeah, I don't know. Miller Moss is looking to. Do
you know who they play the next week?
Who do they play the game after?
At the Big House against Michigan. Well,
I don't know.
They have a bye.
I don't know who's better.
They have a bye.
They do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a trap game then.
Probably not.
Utah State might be as good as Michigan, though, this year. The way that who did Michigan play? They played Fresno State, right?
Yeah, struggled to score. Blew them out at the end, but it was probably a nervous Saturday for Michigan
I saw
fans.
it was like 16-13 when I saw it.
Yeah, they ended up pulling away. But it was tight for a long time, probably longer than Michigan fans were comfortable with.
Yeah, Sharon Moore might have some extra work to do before he gets that full contract.
Yeah, I've got it right here. It was 13-3 after 3 quarters.
Yeah, not good.
And then didn't Fresno State score?
Yeah, it got a little bit dicey for him.
Yeah, it was 16-10.
That was when I saw
Michigan finished it off with a couple late touchdowns.
That's when I saw it.
It was 16-10 with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
In the Big House.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more around the corner. We've got a couple things to jump in there and throw your way. How much should we learn about this Big 12 team? We'll bring it up. We'll talk a little bit about. I mean, look, Mitch Harper and I chopped it up on our Big 12 show yesterday. So I've got a lot of thoughts on where these teams are at right now. So stay right here with us. We've got tons around the corner. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Aggies hit the road to Southern California for a battle against USC. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All righty, buddy. Happy Labor Day. Labor Day. Everybody.
You got love for Labor Day?
I do. It's a good tune. What year is this?
Oh, man, like 1997? Nate Dogg.
96? Gotta love some Nate Dogg, dude. All right. What's the origin of Labor Day? Is it a union thing? Is that what this is?
Yes, exactly.
My dad straight up did not care if it was Labor Day. That actually meant we were doing more work.
Because you were home from school to be able to do the work.
I know. It was actually, Labor Day was a rough day at my house. So we had a pool growing up when we were in Texas. And so the way that they do it, my dad was like,
pool, wow.
Well, that was the thing. Is like, you'd be like, hey, we got a pool. This is awesome. Dad's like,
your dad make a lot of money?
Everybody in Texas has a pool, man. I'm telling you.
It's like toilets?
We were scrubbing.
They do. I didn't, so.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so we were scrubbing the algae off of the tiles.
Right.
That was our deal.
That's hard work.
You're going, well, because you're like, and your dad, and my dad's whole thing was, well, you can do it while you're in the pool. I was like, yeah, you can get in the pool. Here's this toothbrush. And you go around, and we did. We had to freaking scrub between the grout on the tile work around the pool, man.
I mowed the lawn today, and then I came to work.
Again, Labor Day.
It's truly a Labor Day
I know,
for me.
It is.
I think it's the opposite of the purpose of Labor Day, but I'm laboring on Labor Day. I am an idiot.
I definitely was. It was a house cleaning situation for us for sure. So there you go. Federal holiday celebrated on the first Monday of September to honor and recognize the American labor movement and the contribution of laborers to the development and achievement of the United States. There you go.
It's just one big last weekend before.
Oh, yeah.
It's like your so long to summer weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are talking about sports on a Monday. Glad to have you with us.
And we're doing it for you, and we love you. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. This portion of the show brought to you by, hey, guess what? Every Sunday, 10 to noon, brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. It's our First and 12 program, hosted by myself and Mitch Harper, our BYU insider for KSLSports.com. We are every Sunday chopping up a ton of Big 12 talk. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from the local farms and your favorite local brands. Macy's, happy shopping. 11 games in the Big 12 this week were against FCS teams.
Jeez.
You know what? And guess what?
16 teams, 11 of them played FCS opponents.
Hey, got to tune up somehow.
And all that, we made fun of the SEC for their Week 11 FCS week.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know. I mean, we looked at the schedule too, and I feel like that the SEC, because a lot of them played FCS teams. Furman is usually middle of the year. They don't play two FCS teams.
They changed that. They no longer do that.
Right, they're not doing
the November. They're not doing FCS week in November.
Good. They'd be like everybody else and play the FCS team when they're supposed to.
They're doing it in September.
In week 1, all right? And week 0.
Or technically August.
So 11 games against FCS teams. I'm happy to report they're 11-0 against those FCS teams, the Big 12. There was an overtime win by Texas Tech over Abilene Christian. West Virginia and Houston were your only 2 losses in the conference this week, and they were against big boy teams, I guess.
UNLV, that juggernaut? I mean, of course Houston got waxed by UNLV because the Rebels are just...
This is why Brett Yormark is
true blue blood in the desert.
Brett Yormark is going to extend an invitation to UNLV. We're going to bring Vegas in to the Big 12.
Well, when they hire Garcesian, of course they're going to do that.
So West Virginia gets blown out by Penn State, and UNLV beat Houston. Those are your 2 losses. But UNLV was also an 8-point favorite in that game going to Houston, so it wasn't a shock that they were going to beat Houston. Houston's not going to be good this year. Houston is decidedly the worst team in the conference right now.
That's clear. We learned that in week 1.
Yes.
Take that to the bank. Houston sucks.
Is Colorado going to surprise people or fall off again this year?
You believe that?
No, I do not.
Hold on. Oh, no. Do you believe?
No.
They were 5 yards away from losing.
Against a team that a lot of people thought that they were going to lose to.
What does that tell you? Like a lot of people thought Colorado was going to lose to North Dakota State.
Not a lot of respect.
By the way, North Dakota State, FCS juggernaut, great program. They've beat some of the big boys before.
However,
but it's an FCS versus a Power 4 team, and a lot of people are hyping up Colorado as if they are a top 25 team, and they are not.
Okay.
And that proved itself once again in week 1, and Nebraska, prediction time, is going to work them.
Is there a team on the schedule now that you saw after just one game that you thought, oh, you know what? I underestimated this team, or I overestimated this team? I think West Virginia losing to Penn State is not that big of a deal because you're supposed to lose to the number 8 team in the country. They were playing them at home, but, I don't know what you expect out of Neil Brown. He was supposed to be the worst team in the conference last year. They won 9 games, but they didn't play Penn State.
Right.
And so, for me, I'm just like, on them. Texas Tech definitely underperformed. Arizona is really good, but their defense struggled. You get exactly what you thought you were going to get out of Utah. Did BYU overperform, or just did they go status quo against an FCS team like Southern Illinois?
BYU did what they're supposed to do against an FCS opponent that they didn't do last year against the team transitioning from FCS to FBS in Sam Houston last year. So I wouldn't say over or underperformed. I think BYU did exactly what you think they should do.
So do you think that because I think we moved him up in our power rankings this week, do you think that's too aggressive week one to give him a bump? I think they went from like 13th
drop.
I think they went from like 13th to 10th in our power polls that we did.
Colorado should drop.
Yeah.
Texas Tech should drop. Maybe you consider Arizona State moving up. Iowa State should not have struggled with North Dakota. 21-3 at home.
Yeah.
It was 14-3 at halftime.
Yeah.
I want to see more. That Iowa State team's better than that. I wanted to see more from Iowa State. And I keep going through here some other teams in that middle range in the conference. TCU, no. You got really lucky there. They were losing that game at Stanford. Stanford was picked to finish 17th in a 17-team ACC this year. So, no. Move TCU down.
Okay. Yeah,
Give
I think
BYU a bump.
I think we put – no, actually, you know what?
Give Baylor a bump. Baylor was a solid 45-3 win against an FCS, right?
Let me give you our power poll we did for –
Give me your power poll.
I'm going to give you the power poll that Mitch and I did for our Big 12 for First and 12 yesterday. And part of it is because I think let me look here because I don't know. I've got to pull it up because I had it up yesterday and then obviously going through and trying to figure out. Okay, First and 12. Here's our power poll for week 1. All right. Utah, Kansas State. I think that he and I had an argument about Oklahoma State and Kansas, but Kansas played a Lindenwood team that is really, really bad and less recognizable than even a South Dakota State. Oklahoma
That's
put 44
FCS
up on
powerhouse.
them. Yes. And I'm going to say this too. Alan Bowman outperformed what I thought he was going to do to start things off here.
I'd put Oklahoma State ahead of Kansas week 1.
So I did Utah, so Mitch and I came up with Utah number 1, Kansas State number 2. You good with those?
Yes.
Still there. We put Oklahoma State above Kansas just because of the opponent. Arizona stays at 5.
Yeah.
Now this one was 1. We moved up UCF to number 6. And it wasn't because you were like, oh, a 57-3 win. That's crazy. But their running backs, I think, combined for... I think R.J. Harvey.
Yeah.
What did they end up?
KJ Jefferson didn't play.
Now that's the thing is KJ Jefferson did not play well, but these guys are going to
still rolled.
They still rolled, and I think they're going to be pretty good.
Yeah,
I think they are going to be. You should be nervous, BYU fans and Utah fans. So
I'd move them ahead of Iowa State.
We did put them ahead of Iowa State. So
Good
Iowa
call.
State is 7. TCU is 8, and I think that we kept them there because. They did play, I know they were picked 17th, but they did go on the road to an FBS opponent. I think Troy Taylor's team is a little bit better than we might give him credit for than being 17th in the ACC. But again, they won that game. Fine.
I want to drop them, but I can't because there's nobody else that deserves
That's exactly
to go up
right. That's exactly right. So BYU, we actually put at 9.
I have no problem with
that. Is that too aggressive?
No.
Go single digits already?
Because West Virginia lost. Texas Tech should have.
Okay.
I mean, overtime against an FCS? Get out of here, Texas Tech.
How about this? We actually moved Arizona State ahead of Colorado. So Arizona State's 10.
I have no problem with that. Arizona State looked good.
48-7.
Wyoming sucks, but Arizona State blew the doors off of them.
I'm happy for Kenny Dillingham.
Yeah.
So Arizona State, of all the teams in the Big 12, outperformed, I think, even what people thought they were going to be able to do. Arizona State 10, Colorado 11. We put Texas Tech below Colorado because of that bad performance against Abilene Christian. West Virginia, I still put ahead of Baylor just because of the quality of the opponent that they played.
That's fair.
And then Baylor is at 14. Cincinnati and Houston are decidedly 15 and 16 in the conference.
Yeah, Cincinnati struggled against Towson.
Is it Towson? Is it Towson?
You can probably get away with calling it whatever you want in this market because no one would care.
That's exactly.
It's in Maryland, by the way.
All right, so I'm glad listen because we went through that, and it was a very, 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 very late night for Mitch and I. And so when we put the poll together, I didn't know if I was going to come out on this thing on today and look at it and go, well, that was a dumb move. But BYU 9, that's going up 4 spots or 5 spots.
I'm okay with that right now.
That's yeah. And again, every week it changes because you could have. This is what I love about the power poll is. Last year it was like Baylor would go up 2 spots and then they'd go back down to 16, by the end. I don't know if Houston is going to be able to be I think Houston might stay at that number 16 spot for quite some time this season.
No doubt. Tell me who you had in front of BYU one spot and behind
one
them.
TCU's one ahead. Again, they played a more legitimate opponent.
I don't know if I can say today I feel comfortable BYU beats TCU, so I'm okay with that spot.
And Josh Hoover still
I'm not convinced yet because of what we saw last year.
Yeah.
I need to see more from BYU.
Josh Hoover threw for 353.
No problem
and
with
2
that.
touchdowns, no picks.
Who's right behind BYU?
Arizona State.
Yeah, no.
10.
BYU's better than Arizona State, so I'm fine with that spot.
Okay. And you're okay with Colorado being 11?
I think BYU beats every team you had below them.
All right. Even Colorado. Even though they're not playing them this year.
BYU beat Colorado.
They're not playing them this year, so we can.
The only one we'd be worried about is Baylor. I'm not so sure about that one. I think that's a tough matchup for BYU.
Baylor could put themselves. They could be very well be somewhere in that 7-8 spot by the end of the year.
For sure.
If
they
they're
have
a little
talent.
bit better. Yeah. All right. We'll take the break. We'll come back. Let's have ourselves some fun on the way back here. We'll have some hot pig farmer talk on a Monday. On
the
Labor
Prince
Day
of Pigs is back on his crown.
Let's go. We got lots going on. Bryson Barnes figured it out this weekend. We wondered how quickly he would come in this season, and it only took a couple of quarters before he was in and getting the win for Utah State Aggies. We'll come back. We got more to go around the corner. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Cougars hit the road for a huge matchup against SMU. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
When I saw the nickel take the dig across the middle, I knew there was going to be nobody there. But EA Sports needs to bump my speed rating on NCAA. That's for sure.
Do you know what your speed ranking is on there?
Not high enough.
I imagine I pictured Bryson Barnes. That's a pretty. I like the confidence, I guess. He's
never lacked for confidence.
No,
you're from Milford, and you go walk on at Utah because you think you're a big-time college quarterback. He has moxie.
Right, and you got the scholarship. You earned the scholarship after a while. Ends up going up to Utah State. Bryson Barnes, that's a guy who, by the way, he'd be phenomenal doing some as a color analyst, right? On the radio.
I think he could if he wants to.
He would have
I'm never going to tell Bryson Barnes he can't. Ever. Do you not respect the hell out of that guy?
Well, I'll tell you what, it was pretty fun to watch it. We were wondering because how many times did on and off the air Scotty G tell us he's having a hell of a camp? And then he'd look at you and be like, he's playing really well. And it was like, wink? Almost like, hey, Spencer Petras, I know he was the named starter, and it was known for a long time, but it was also a little bit of a poorly kept secret that Bryson Barnes was maybe better. Now, Spencer Petras goes out, gets the was it a sprained ankle?
Yeah, threw a couple picks. Kind of a rough start for him, and then he gets hurt.
Bryson Barnes comes in, scores 3 touchdowns, 2 of them through the air, 1 on the ground, that 60-yarder. Nice. 68-yard touchdown run. That's a guy who is very capable of that. And Petras ends up with a boot on his leg. I don't know what that's going to look like. But in the end, though, the Utah State Aggies might have – I mean, do you remember what happened to Keaton Slovis last year? It was like, oh, yeah, he's a little bit nicked up. Perfect excuse also to be like, let's get Jake Retlzaff in here. And when Jake Retlzaff played in a couple games, it was still like, nah, we're keeping him in there. Even with Keaton Slovis maybe being healthy, it was still not the guy.
BYU had turned the page.
Does Bryson Barnes lose his starting job the rest of the way, do you think? Do you think that he's done enough? Do you think that this was the thing that coaches go, all right, carry us through, see what you can do for us? The tough thing is you're going to play USC and Utah the next 2 weeks.
That's the hard part.
It's not that you're going to get. It's not that you're going out there and you're going to blow up. Wyoming, who's down obviously this year right off the bat. You're playing your 2 hardest games over the next 2 weeks. One down at the Coliseum, and the other you're hosting a Utah team that that line probably isn't going to get.
Will probably end up in the playoff.
Yes,
and you're playing 2 potential playoff teams the next 2 weeks.
That's going to be a 3-score line at home. That you're going to be dogs
for sure.
At home. So,
but Bryson Barnes is the perfect underdog,
right? And if
he was an underdog at the Coliseum
and
last
if there's
year.
somebody who understands that offense and what Utah can do, it's that guy.
You don't think Bryson Barnes isn't going to be comfortable at the Coliseum next week? It's his greatest moment. It's his greatest win.
He's like, you think so?
It's his Picasso.
Yeah, it's him going. It's him going in there going. He's going to walk into the Coliseum and go.
It's his opus. He beat Caleb Williams.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, did I tell you
he
I won
led a game-winning drive against USC?
Did I tell you guys I won this game last year here in this very same building?
He's not going to be intimidated. He's got nothing to lose.
The coaches are like, "Can you actually come in on the defensive meetings and help us understand a little bit?" The next 2 weeks, he's basically going to play defensive coordinator also in the room against Utah and against USC. That USC team looked good, and I don't like admitting that ever, but they looked really good yesterday. They were the more physical team out of that LSU.
I was wrong about Miller Moss. That dude's legit.
Boy, you know what?
That was some big boy quarterback.
How about him after the game, like not really even focusing on celebrating with his teammates? He's more interested in going around the stadium, doing the L down to the LSU fans and waving. It was the absolutely insulting wave goodbye to the fan base that was obviously in your ear on the sideline.
Oh yeah,
when you do it's the open and shut.
That
hand.
LSU bunch is something. They were something at the women's NCAA tournament 2 years ago, and I went there to cover the Utes in the Sweet 16.
You know what I love?
Those LSU people. That's a brash group.
Those LSU people. My favorite was looking up in the crowd at that game too. They were doing this. They were panning shots. I think a lot of people do this when they go to Vegas anyway. But a lot of LSU fans in the building with sunglasses on.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
You're like, I don't want my mom to see me on TV like this. Take your pick. You go down to Vegas, it smells like weed 100% of the time. Or everyone's wasted 100% of the time. You think LSU fans weren't?
Is that the new Vegas advertising
oh my gosh.
campaign? Vegas smells like weed.
They do have some new campaign. I can't remember what it was. It was like whatever it was like whatever debauchery you're into, do it 100%. I can't remember what their new motto is, but it's basically like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's something dumb. But anyway, all right. We'll take a break. Bryson Barnes, he's going to be I bet you're going to see a couple weeks of him starting at quarterback. We'll see what Spencer Petras' ankle presents, but I don't know. Maybe even if it's even partway questionable, if you're Utah State, this is a perfect excuse anyway because you probably wanted him to go in and be the guy against USC anyway. So there you go. Did you find the new Vegas motto?
I just coined it. It's done.
It smells like weed.
I want royalties.
There you go. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. When we do, getting into this third hour here, let's have a little overreaction to college football week 1. Not just a Big 12 reaction, but we'll do the full thing here. We'll get into the biggest and smallest storylines across the entire country. So stay right here with us. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? It's a Saturday matinee battle for the Utes as they welcome in Baylor to Rice-Eccles Stadium. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Some guys played their butts off tonight, and we're sitting here again. We're sitting here again talking about the same things. About not finishing when you have an opponent in a position to put them away. But what we're doing on the sideline is feeling like the game's over. And I'm so angry about it that I got to do something about it. I'm not doing a good enough job as a coach. And I got to coach him better because it's unacceptable for us not to have found a way to win this football game. It's ridiculous. And it's crazy.
All right, there you go. Brian Kelly. LSU, by the way, has started off the season 0-1 all 3 years that he's been in charge of the Bayou Bengals. I don't know if the thing is that I wasn't like I thought Garrett Nussmeier's. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's good. I think Miller Moss was a way better quarterback yesterday. Maybe not way better is not the right word, but he was better. And USC had a tougher team. We don't say that very often. More
disciplined team.
More disciplined, tougher team, better defense. And, you know what I'm not going to want to do is apologize to USC fans. I'll wait because I don't know if that's the case yet. But USC so far was, I mean, my goodness. That was a great performance by them. I thought that was going to be a 35-7 type game. They were going to get beat up.
I did too.
I thought there's no way they're going to have a new defensive coordinator, but that doesn't really change the culture of Lincoln Riley of milquetoast, kind of halfway approaching things.
His time management still sucks.
It does.
Jeez.
What
was that at the end of the half?
Find all sorts of ways to still
settling
lose the
for
game.
A field goal.
That's fine. Come on.
That was missed.
That he pushed right. All right. So
that's what we'd be talking about if they didn't march down the field.
Oh my goodness. So in the end, college football still had some good matchups. We've got one tonight on a Labor Day edition of Florida State versus Boston College. Florida State, what a weird freaking start to the year. You're a week 0 Dublin, Ireland game, and then you have the Labor Day game. What makes them so dang special?
Why are we giving Florida State the primetime treatment? What have they done? Why do they think we want to watch these games?
They've certainly been waiting for them to be the best team in the ACC again, and that's already not going to happen because JJ is already crowning Miami.
Done deal.
As the ACC champion.
Clear as mud.
Oh. Welcome to the program, JJ and Alex, 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone is all brought to you by the folks at G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. You can find them at Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other places in the refrigerated section. So there you go. Let's kick off the program right now. Let's get into the full weekend that was of week 1 of college football. We'll give some of those storylines there to you, see if anything shocked us, see if anything did not shock us. Let's jump in right here. It's The Cut.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And this portion of the show brought to you by Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com. That's TrajanWealth.com for all your local trusted retirement needs. It is TrajanWealth.com. Okay. Boy, Nick Saban's in all the commercials now. You see he's a Verbo guy now, too? So Nick Saban blows up the internet by saying a cuss on college football game day. Just what do you think that ESPN was like, this is a strategic thing? We're going to let you say this. Because, well, I don't know. Cable TV, you can say that now. You can say the S word on TV.
You can get away with it, yeah.
Okay. Jeremy's like, you can't even make reference to an S word on our show. I've already dumped you. Yeah. So Nick Saban goes, you can have $20 million to pay your players on a roster, but if you don't pay the right guy, you're poop out of luck. Isn't that what this quote was? Poop out of luck. I'm going to start saying that more. So I don't say the big one around the kids. You're poop out of luck, son.
Poop out of luck's funnier.
I think so, too. Notre Dame. I don't want to give them any credit yet. Notre Dame's a team that
they were the biggest winner of the weekend.
I will say Notre Dame is that team that I won't let 1 week affect how I feel about them at all. USC, I was like, ooh. But yeah, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame's going to the playoff.
Come on.
Done deal.
No.
Yeah. You want me to tell you why?
Why?
Let me run off their schedule real quick.
Okay.
Northern Illinois.
Okay.
On NBC. Can't wait to air that on KSL 5.
Are they playing that one in DeKalb?
No.
Okay.
No, they are not. At Purdue. Home against Miami, Ohio.
Oh, I was like...
at home against Louisville.
Okay.
Not sure what Louisville is yet. Stanford again, picked to finish 17th in the 17-team ACC. Georgia Tech, we'll see. I mean, they beat Florida State, but maybe both Florida State and Georgia Tech stink.
Georgia Tech.
By the way, Florida State is on the Notre Dame schedule as well after they play Navy, that juggernaut, the Naval Academy.
Oh, yeah, they're struggling.
And then after Florida State, they play Virginia at home.
Wait.
Where are the road games?
They have 8 this year, right? Isn't that what somebody said?
Where are the road games?
Hold on. Do they play USC at the Coliseum then this year?
They do, but that's at the end of the year. So Virginia, then Army, they play both.
Oh, boy.
Army and Navy.
Yeah,
wow, brutal schedule, man. Way to load up Notre Dame, and then they finish the season at the Coliseum. That's 3 road games this year. 3.
Okay.
Who made this schedule?
Notre Dame.
What a joke. And they're going to be in the playoff, and they just clinched it because there's not losing these games.
5, 6.
Who are they losing to? Who are they losing to? They're all home.
Yep.
They'll lose to USC at the end of the year, and it won't matter because they've already got that Texas A&M win. 1 loss, Notre Dame gets in the playoff. It's almost like they knew what they were doing.
So Notre Dame is going to be in the playoff, according to JJ. Mark it down. Hey, Jeremy, go ahead and save this. Go ahead and save this one for, because obviously it's going to need to be. Now, here's the thing, though. They beat Texas A&M.
Who might not be good.
Whoopity-doo. So is everybody else. Texas A&M, like, honestly, by the end of the weekend, they're already going to be back out of the top 25, right? They might be 25th, whatever it might be. So there you go. All right. So, okay, but yeah, how many home games do they have this year? Well, they only have 7. They have 7 home games. And then they played. Where did they play that Texas A&M game?
They have 7 home games.
7 home games. Oh, they played it down there at College Station. See,
they have 9.
They had to go on the road. No, they don't have 9 home games.
Notre Dame?
They don't have 9 home games.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
I just read the road games: Texas A&M, Purdue, USC.
Hold on.
That's it.
2 neutral games.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Give me a break. Give me a break.
Is one of them at Soldier Field, like in Chicago? Or something? Where is it?
Yankee
Stadium.
Notre Dame doesn't have neutral games.
When I was a kid,
and Atlanta.
When I was a kid, by the way,
give me a break.
Think about it. Think about the people you hated more when you were growing up. The guys wearing the Notre Dame stuff for no reason. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. And the kid that would come to school with the Yankee hat on. Big Notre Dame, big Yankee fan.
Bandwagon.
Oh, my gosh.
Get out of here with that neutral site crap because 90% of those fans will be Notre Dame fans.
Hey, Georgia Tech, Atlanta?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Georgia Tech is in Atlanta.
Because everybody in Georgia loves Tech.
Hey, listen. Isn't that the game? They're getting back at Rudy for that sack that they gave up against. Wasn't that the Georgia Tech?
Yeah, I think you're right.
You mean the fake movie?
Yeah. Come on, don't try to do this stuff where you dumb it down.
You're going to ruin that myth for all of us?
Come on. Just because Joe Montana for once wasn't like made the center of attention, okay? Let Rudy Rudiger, the tax thief that he is, let him have. Didn't he like get busted? Aren't they garnishing his speaking wages or whatever? Not a good time to be Rudy Rudiger. All right, fine.
Oh, I made a mistake. There's another neutral game too. MetLife Stadium.
Where?
MetLife and Yankee Stadium. Apparently.
No, they're not. What are they doing? What's this tour?
Service academies.
Oh boy. So Army's going to be at MetLife.
No, flip it. Navy, MetLife, Army, Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
3 true
Georgia
road
Tech.
games.
Georgia Tech in Atlanta at the Georgia Dome.
Yeah,
Or at the
Mercedes-Benz
Dome.
Mercedes-Benz Stadium, yeah.
Notre Dame South, according to JJ.
3 true road games are going to get in the playoff.
Okay.
Can't believe it.
All right. Mark it down. JJ's excited about it.
Schedule smarter. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's on you. Maybe that's on your team. That's what the true benefit of independence is. Going in there and going, we're going to stay independent. And you know what we're going to do? Teams want to play us so badly that we'll make sure that they always come to our place.
Well, do you think I care?
No, I don't.
And NBC's going to finance it.
Didn't we find out that TV deal isn't nearly as lucrative as we thought, too? Just get to the ACC, Notre Dame. Is it worth?
Why? When you can do this, why would you do that?
I guess so.
Why would you go play 9? Do they play 9 or 8 in the ACC?
5, I think. Every year.
No.
Meaning, do
no,
ACC
the
teams
ACC
play
is
conference? I don't know if they're 9 or 8 conference teams.
Either way,
embarrassed that I don't know. But
why would you be embarrassed? It's like all these conferences are making. No, all these conferences are making They're trying to figure out how to make the concessions to be able to make sure that they don't play. I think that they have. Maybe they do the back and forth. That some years it's 8, some years it's 9. Some teams have 8, some teams have 9. I don't know.
Notre Dame's starting to schedule their return games, their road games. We saw they did it with BYU in neutral sites.
Right.
And everyone's just like bending over backwards and facilitating it for them.
Right.
You don't have to play Notre Dame. It's not that big of a deal. Jeez.
Okay.
There you go.
They play 9 conference games?
In 2026, they'll start doing
It's
it.
8 right now.
I know. So
right why
now
would Notre Dame want to go play 8 ACC teams when they can do what they're doing right now and play 3 true road games in a season when the 12-team college football playoff starts?
So the thing that you have to do when you're Notre Dame is just like making the schedule still look like it's almost, hey, I recognize what that team is. And no one's going to ding you for playing Army because it's like, thank you for your service.
Dude, it's
playing
not
the service
1956. Playing Army and Navy is not tough. Roger Staubach's not the quarterback at Navy, so just stop with that.
You're going to have to figure out that veer they run at Army still.
Oh, yeah. How do you
right?
prepare for that?
You call Bronco Mendenhall. That's what you do. They're playing every team that runs an option still. Georgia Tech.
What, Air Force wasn't available?
I know. I was going to say. But they have done years where they've done Navy and Air Force.
Oh, sure.
So, and right now, in terms of the tougher of the service academies, Air Force is down a little bit. Navy's down, so they're going to get an easy dub against Navy. But Army's a little bit tougher than they have been. What are we talking about?
What are we talking about?
What did I just say? What was that commentary there? Come on. Okay. Does Dabo Swinney make it more than just this year? What's the firing point for Dabo Swinney if you are...
He's won 2 national titles. There isn't one.
At a school that doesn't win them, right?
No, he's fine.
So he'll stay there till the end of time?
Yes.
Okay.
Until he decides to quit. Clemson's fine with it. Clemson got more than enough from Dabo. What do you want? How many titles does he have to win to keep his job?
They did that. They showed the graphic of how many players you added in the transfer portal, and there are 4 teams that added 0. Okay, in the transfer portal, Stanford, which we already know about.
They can't.
Army and Navy and Clemson. There you go.
Dabo.
Dabo,
what are you doing?
You have one job. I know that you think that only high school kids is where the talent is, but that is not the case. You got to get going. Dabo Swinney, having a loss like that when you are 30, what they lose, 34-3? Is that what it was?
Yeah, they got
They got absolutely beat up by the best team in the country, by all accounts.
Fair.
Right? But you're supposed to be this like premier team still. So last year when you lost 4 games, and then the year before that when they lost 4 games, I don't know when we're supposed to look at this Clemson team and wonder when they're going to pull out of this nosedive. And it is a nosedive for them. Because when you're paying a guy Dabo makes about $13 million a year. That's the only reason he's going to get let go, because you can't. Although they'll have to buy him out.
Yeah, what's the point? You might as well just let him coach out his contract and not give him another one.
Yeah, he's Dabo's something else, man. Telling you. Florida. Speaking of coaches on the hot seat, Billy Napier.
No, he won't last.
When do they play UCF? Is that next week or this week? I think it's next week. If they lose to UCF, does he lose his job? By the way, UCF is smelling blood in the water. October 5th. So it's even a couple. That's a month away still. You could see a 2-2 or a 1-3 Florida team playing UCF. And does UCF go to Gainesville? I'm assuming. Is that weird for me to assume? Yeah, they're going to Gainesville. And if UCF wins that game, which they very well could, everybody's smelling blood in the water. Miami made fun of Florida on the way out. They wore the full white, as their fans wear the white, of course, at the home games. So they did the white out this weekend, and then Miami wore the all white, and then they ended up blasting. Could you imagine? Florida has not been competitive for a minute. And Billy Napier, by the way, who is the list of coaches that have lost their gigs there recently? Dan Mullen. Billy Napier is going to be the next guy. And by the way, Dan Mullen was not this bad. So we'll see. To be seen.
I have his buyout details if you want them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How much?
$28.3 million.
For Billy Napier.
He signed a 7-year, $51.8 million deal. His average annual salary $7.29 million, and if they buy him out this season, if they fire him without cause, they owe him $28.3 million.
By the way, $28 million, it's kind of nothing, right? For a lot of these schools,
maybe.
Texas A&M's like, I wish it was only $28 million we had to pay Jimbo Fisher, dude. You kidding? So yeah, most of the time when you have a situation like this, these guys get let go.
Yeah, it's been pretty rough since Urban. Will Muschamp.
Muschamp was the other one. Yep.
Jim McElwain. Remember that era?
Oh, boy, they've had a rough go.
Dan Mullen and now Billy Napier.
Okay. All those guys, frauds, by the way. Every one of them.
Why is Florida, the juggernaut they are, struggling to hire a good coach? Why are they whiffing so badly?
It's weird. It's a really good academic school with a really good football pedigree. And recent, too.
And you're in a recruiting hotbed that you should own, by the way.
I know. Especially because Miami, they've been on the struggle bus for a while.
Florida State was, too.
And they're pulling out of it. It's crazy. Okay, Florida State, and Miami. Who's the best team in the state of Florida? You're just going off, and I already know you're going to say Miami.
UCF.
Oh, boy.
No, it's Miami.
What?
It's not even close.
But is it?
It's not even close.
As if Miami has suddenly, they win that one game.
Cam Ward is, if he keeps these numbers up as a Heisman candidate, he'll be in New York. That was a Heisman-level performance on Saturday.
Didn't Napier rip the fans in Florida, by the way?
Yeah, with context. He ripped himself, too, but yes. He ripped the guy in his basement in rural Florida. Didn't really rip the fans per se.
Yeah.
We all know those guys in rural basements in their chat rooms, in their
social media. You can't even make that's the thing is you can't even make mention of social media. You can't go out there and you can't even mention that you're reading those. Okay?
Because it feels like an excuse.
You can't go out there. If we focus on the things that are being said out there with some guy in his basement in rural Central Florida saying on social media, we got a better chance than that, right? I think that's the key. Sometimes you deserve criticism. I don't think that's one of those things I have to say no excuses, right? We got to get it fixed. Yeah, we got to get it fixed. But you can't read the things that guy in Central Florida is saying on social media. You can't even just go full Nick Saban and don't have a social media page anywhere. Just focus on football, man.
And commercials.
And the commercials. Try to make some money.
I don't care what you post on Instagram.
Oh, my goodness. USC, are they going to win the Big Ten? Are they going to be in the Big Ten championship game taking on Ohio State, Oregon, and USC? Oregon had a rough weekend though, didn't they?
It wasn't pretty.
Is that just one of those sometimes you gotta eke that one out?
I don't know. I'm not sold on Dylan Gabriel.
I'm sold on Dan Lanning. But winning by 10 points over Idaho, not good. Not good. Because by the way, they're hosting Boise State next week. Who smells blood in the water? Then they have Oregon State the week after. That's a rough freaking go, by the way.
That is a really tough non-conference schedule.
You don't think about that, but guess what?
That's sneaky tough.
Oregon State's going to have tears in their eyes as they're playing that game, right? Boise State's going, we got nothing to lose.
Do you know how much joy the Beavers would get by ruining Oregon's season?
That's what I'm saying. Absolutely.
There's no way Oregon makes the playoff if they lose to Oregon State.
The only freebies you're going to get against UCLA and Michigan State this year in the Big Ten.
Right.
Because then they have to play Ohio State on October 12th.
Right. They'll lose that game. So everyone's expecting them to roll through their non-conference. And then, of course, if you lose to Ohio State, your playoff hopes are still intact. If you lose to Boise State and Oregon State, you're done before you even start conference play.
They got kind of a light schedule in the Big Ten, by the way.
That's why a lot of people are picking them to make the Big Ten Conference Championship game and to get to the playoff.
Doesn't matter, though.
Because it's just like Notre Dame. The schedule is soft.
Well, and the UCLA game is going to be
UCLA stinks.
I know they stink, but so does Idaho. And they have to go to L.A. to play that game, by the way. So that, to me, the game at Corvallis this weekend against Boise State and then going to Corvallis the week after, that's a rough couple of weeks here. It gets light with UCLA and Michigan State after that, but then they have to play Ohio State. And Michigan, they play Ohio State, they host Ohio State at Autzen, but then they play Michigan at the Big House. And they have to play Wisconsin at Camp Randall. And they have to host Washington. So, look, if you're struggling against Idaho, and I don't care if Idaho's coming out and playing their butts off.
It's a good FCS team. It's a really good FCS team. But again, it's an FCS team. We talked about the gap. And for Oregon to struggle the way they did is a little bit of a red flag. Just being honest.
Okay. Hey, we got some stuff to give away. Is that right? On DJ and PK this morning, if you happen to tune in, and they do this every week, they give out the Rocky Mountain Chevy Dealers Play of the Weekend. What do? They give out that play, and then if you know what that play is, you call us during our program, and if you're calling number 12, you get yourself an Amazon gift card. That could help you. You're ordering stuff off of it anyway. There's probably a box sitting on your porch right now. Wouldn't it have been nice not to have had to actually buy it? Let us get it for you. Give us a call, 801-575-ZONE, caller number 12, 575-ZONE, 575-9663. Tell us what that play was that they picked, and you can get yourself that Amazon gift card with an impressive lineup of cars, trucks, and SUVs. No wonder people are switching to Chevy, you Rocky Mountain Chevy leaders. Jeremy, did you have a clue that you were thinking about giving these folks?
We should make it easy today, right?
Yeah, look, it's Labor Day, man.
Obviously college football because,
it's
that
college
happened.
Football, yeah.
It was one of the best defensive plays of the year so far.
Oh, a defensive play.
Yeah.
Oh.
Of all the offense, it was a defensive stop.
Possibly happen here in this state? Maybe.
I think
All right.
Maybe
Think
not.
about it. 801-575-ZONE. Caller number 12 gets a Amazon gift card with the Rocky Mountain Chevy Dealers Play of the Weekend. There you go. 801-575-ZONE. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got our Cougars at 30 update, and we'll jump into some NFL talk. A landing spot for Jaron Hall stays in the NFL. We'll tell you where next. Stay with us, 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Oh, yes, you know what that music means, the NFL Blitz. Before we get to the NFL Blitz, so I did want to mention. I went down a rabbit hole during the break here. I was reading some stories off of the Gainesville Sun. That's not a newspaper. Look, that's not a newspaper that if you're
they're objective in their coverage of the Gators?
Like every story on that, it's like they don't even have a sports section. It's just the whole paper is a sports section. Okay, so Dan Mullen, we're just talking about coaches who've struggled and get fired. So Dan Mullen took over a Florida program. He won 30 games in his first 3 seasons at Florida. He went to 3 New Year's Six games the first 3 seasons that he played or that he coached at Florida.
Wow.
He got fired in the 4th season.
Right.
So he went 30-5 in those first, or 30-6 in those first 3 seasons. Like I said, 3 New Year's Six bowls in those first 3 seasons. Gets fired in the 4th season. Any guesses on the record that Billy Napier has right now?
Can't be good in 3 years.
11-15 currently. After the blowout loss. So the only reason I know this is because Matt Berry from ESPN tweeted that out. There was a Florida coach that got 3. They went to 3 straight New Year's Six games in his first 3 seasons and was fired in his 4th. Dan Mullen retweeted that.
You do know Matt Berry's his broadcast partner too.
Yes.
That's funny.
He referred to him as the Florida coach who was fired. Of course, is the guy sitting next to him. Now, Dan Mullen retweeted it. The Gainesville Sun picked that up and said, Dan Mullen possibly throws shade at Florida. You think? You think throws shade at Florida? Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm sure they parted ways cleanly.
Amicably,
and politely.
yes. Yeah. That's why he retweeted it, because I'm sure there was probably some NDA stuff. And
yeah. I
don't know what his buyout was.
He won a lot of games there.
Jeremy.
But why is he not coaching anymore?
Figure out how much not Matt Berry. Figure out how much Dan Mullen got when he was fired in his 4th season.
Why is Dan Mullen not coaching anymore?
It's because I don't know if people love that dude. He got $12 million for
$6 million within 30 days.
See how these buyouts are? See how stupid these buyouts are?
Smart, though.
Gosh. Oh, yeah. You're a terrible coach. Take this money and get out of here. That's why I said, which door you want me to go out, Give me a ham sandwich and point which door you want me to go out. You know what I'm saying?
Give me some gumbo.
Mine turned into like a little bit of a... Oh, yeah. Show me what door to go out. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Phil. Why don't you give me a cookie?
What is this whole thing? He's like, go home, have a ham sandwich, kiss my wife a little bit.
It's like, what?
Settle down, coach. Jeez.
Way too much information.
I know. And now he's just shirtless all the time with a gold chain on. That's how I picture Ed Orgeron. All the time now.
Wrestling Gators.
Yeah. Greased up Wrestling Gators. Oh, my goodness. Don't miss your chance to win big every week on the KSL Sports Zone. This week, we're giving out tickets on our Win Ticket Wednesday, too. You ready for this? Def Leppard at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on September 10th. The KSL Sports Zone all day on Wednesday. We're going to be giving away those tickets, of course. So there you go. Win Ticket Wednesday. Jaron Hall, now on to the NFL. Jaron Hall, former BYU quarterback, finds himself on a new team. The Seahawks signed him to their practice squad as their practice squad quarterback. Not a bad deal.
Essentially their third string quarterback.
Yeah.
I think this is a perfect landing spot for Jaron Hall. You look at their quarterback situation. They got Geno Smith, who's solid, but he's not for long there. And then the backup is Sam Howell. They haven't drafted a quarterback of their future. Jaron Hall could be their quarterback of the future. And now Jaron can go in there and try to earn that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great spot for Jaron.
Mm-hmm.
Much better than the Vikings.
Well, I don't think. Well, you pointed it out. I don't think Sam Howell is like that's not a threat to your to your future necessarily.
Throws for a lot of yards, but also throws a lot of picks.
Man. I'm all for it.
Jaron's going to be a much more efficient quarterback. much more athletic quarterback. I think that's a great spot for Jaron, and I think I could see him being the starting quarterback next season. Just go in there and develop and go win the job.
All right. Love it.
I mean, do we really believe that Geno Smith's that good? It's a great story. He's comeback player of the year. To win that job and to earn it, he deserves it. I'm just saying, like, it's not like Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback for the Seahawks. You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's perfectly reasonable to think that Jaron Hall could continue to develop and eventually win that job long term. Where that was not the case with the Minnesota Vikings.
I wonder too. A guy like Jaron Hall finds himself in a system that actually likes him. Maybe there's a reason that coaches sign you to the practice squad, and like you said, essentially your third string quarterback, because they see what your skill set is and they go, that kind of works for us. That works for us. The Broncos head coach Sean Payton. This is your guy. Jeremiah Jensen's head coach Sean Payton has not yet settled on who's going to be quarterback 2 behind Bo Nix. Who freaking cares?
It doesn't matter.
Now, listen, I did see Zach Wilson in 2 different places this weekend. Thursday, of course, he was watching his little brother throw his first touchdown pass at the collegiate level, sitting next to his dad up at Rice-Eccles Stadium. And then on Saturday, of course, rolling out, the fans were excited to see Zach Wilson at LaVell Edwards Stadium. So there you go. And by the way, he said he hasn't settled on who's quarterback 2 on QB 2. Fine. Both those guys are on the roster. It doesn't matter. There you go. The new Ravens running back, you've heard of him, Derrick Henry, says he's excited about facing off against the Chiefs this Thursday night in the season opener. Despite the fact that everybody else is wondering what is going to happen with the Ravens this year. And a team that has all the talent in the world, can they be a force in the AFC? He played for the Tennessee Titans for all those years. Does Derrick Henry still have some life in him, JJ, now that he's with the Ravens?
100%. I think it's a perfect spot for him. Now he's had a full training camp with him, and I think that he could do really well there. And they needed that. They've had problems with running backs that have had injuries. Like J.K. Dobbins could not stay healthy. Like Lamar Jackson needs somebody else back there to carry the load. I mean, you don't want Lamar to be their leading rusher. So I like it. I think he's going to do really well there. I don't know that he's still the dominant top 3 or 4 running back in the NFL, but he's more than capable of being possibly a Pro Bowl running back for them.
Are the Eagles and it's the Packers, right? Yeah. Are the Eagles and Packers, are they already down there in Brazil? They would be, right?
They should be, right?
That's a Friday game. Yeah, I think they are, because Darius Slay, cornerback for the Eagles, said, quote, "I told my family I don't want you to go. I don't want to go to Brazil. You know why? I'm going to tell you why. They already told us not to leave the hotel. They told us we can't do much, can't have much going on because of the crime rate." I'm like, the NFL, why would you want to send us down here with the crime rate being this high? Great point. Everything in the name of expanding the brand, JJ.
Yep.
Even if it's putting your players in danger, please don't leave the
shield.
hotel.
It's for the shield.
I told my family not to come. That's crazy. Because honestly, it would be awesome to go down there if you felt comfortable enough going down there. But these guys are like, no, man, I don't want to be the victim of a ransom situation, which, by the way, is kind of a move down in South America.
They just want to be able to go somewhere where they're going to have some fun.
So,
right?
Yes. So I spent some time in Argentina, and I'll tell you, there was like every other week, somebody's cousin would get kidnapped.
Jeez.
And they would be held for ransom. It was a crazy move. Crazy move. All right, let's take a break. Do we have anything else in the NFL roundup we want to do, or the NFL Blitz you wanted to do, JJ?
Nope, that's good. We'll save something for, because this Jamar Chase situation is going to continue, so we'll focus on that tomorrow.
Hey, Jeremy, I'm not.
Patrick Mahomes, Taylor Swift thing will be good
I'm
for
not
tomorrow,
falling
too.
for that. I'm not falling for that. I'm not giving her or him any more airtime than I have to.
We'll do it tomorrow.
Fine.
Patrick Mahomes and Taylor Swift,
No!
Tuesday on JJ and Alex. We got to give people what they want.
Mark it down.
Can't wait.
Are they dating now? I'm just kidding.
That would be extremely
Super
awkward and
weird.
scandalous.
Wouldn't be the weirdest thing.
Be the most Taylor Swift thing ever, right? She needs another album idea.
She'd have to write a whole song just about Britney.
Her breakup with Travis,
just
and
about Britney,
her new
Mahomes,
relationship.
Dude. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Got more around the corner. Stay with us. 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 KSL Sports Zone. Best and worst of the hour. Well, of the show at the end of the hour. There you go. A couple things here that I wanted to bring up. Your best and worst brought to you by the folks at your Doug Smith family of dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. An incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. Visit the Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Nobody knows service like Doug, and nobody knows cars like Doug. I'll give you the best and worst here. You ready for this? Dusty Baker's kid gets his first Major League at bat and his first Major League hit in the same moment with his dad, Dusty, in the stands. You might recall back in the, what was that? It was like the 2002
World Series, yeah.
When a small Darren Baker, very small. Well, he must have been like 5 years old. First of all, come on. He was about to get mowed over at the plate when he was the bat boy. And I can't remember who it was that grabbed him, but it's come full circle now because Dusty Baker was at the game as the Nationals. And I was thinking to myself, Dusty Baker, I think he managed the Nationals. There's not a team that I don't know how many teams he managed during his career, but it was a lot. And he did, in fact, manage the
JT Snow, by the way, saved
JT Snow was the one who saved him. So Dusty Baker, who did manage the Nationals in 2016, 2017, his son now in the system, and then got his first Major League at bat and Major League hit yesterday. So there you go. That'd be a fun thing. Be able to watch your own kid getting a
That's
hit
pretty cool
in Major League Baseball. It's
very
awesome.
cool.
Now the worst, but I'll also chalk it up as being good news. But Ricky Pearsall is home from the hospital, by the way, now. I think that's what they said. Yeah, they actually
Crazy,
released
right?
him. He got shot through the chest when a perpetrator was trying to steal his Rolex watch. Just in the middle of the night, you might ask? At the club? No. This is middle of the day in downtown San Francisco, where he was drafted and would be starting up his rookie season this year, and instead has to miss at least the first 4 games of the season for the San Francisco 49ers because he got shot through the chest when a 17-year-old was trying to steal his Rolex watch from him.
Crazy.
On his way to a public event. Good news is he is only going to miss 4 games. He could be absolutely dead.
It's a miracle he's not dead.
And it's a miracle that, this happened on Saturday. It's Monday today, and he's out of the hospital, and he is on his way to recovering. He's not going to play in 4 games, but my goodness.
Wild.
What an awful and, at the same time, good news for the Pearsall family. And that's a guy we got to watch play at Arizona State, and he played at Florida, obviously, too, and played against the Utes. And he was always a phenomenal athlete. I mean, he's just so.
That's why he was early second-round pick, right?
Right. You no question he was going to be in the league, and what an awful way to start things off there. Hey, San Francisco, I don't know how many wake-up calls you need, but you got to figure it out. All right, we'll take the break. We'll be back again right around the corner, so stay right here. 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone.
Want to get the latest info on Utah's newest sports franchise? Sign up for the
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Aggies hit the road to Southern California for a battle against USC. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right. Welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 BKSL Sports Zone. I did something that I told myself I wouldn't do today, and that was look more into what Joey Chestnut did to break his own personal record.
I already have indigestion. Go ahead, tell us.
So, Joey Chestnut ate a record 83 hot dogs and buns, which you know how they eat the bun, right?
They get what?
I know, but he likes to even hear that.
It's so gross.
No, so I did something, like I said, I didn't really want to do, but I clicked on the story. It looks like he murdered somebody with the way his shirt looks. It's
did he puke?
No, but it's bad because it's how do I describe this? You have small children. You know when you've got your kids and you're like, what did you do? What did you do to yourself? Like they're in their seat, you give them some food, and then you turn around and you look back again, and they have obliterated the food, but they've also gotten most of it on their shirt. This is an adult man fighting another adult man in the battle for eating hot dogs.
I can't imagine the smell.
I can. So there you go.
You have 7 kids. You've smelled things. You've seen things and you've smelled things.
I've seen some things. I've smelled some things. I don't like it. But yes, 83 hot dogs and buns. The question is, though, and I bet some of the hot dog experts out there are going, yeah, but is it the same as the Nathan's hot dog? Because you can't just eat a regular hot dog and then say I broke the record. If it's even smaller by a little bit, I'm not doing this. Are they Hebrew Nationals? That's a great hot dog, by the way.
Yes.
So, I don't know. I don't know if I can believe a number like this. So, Joey Chestnut gets the win. 83 hot dogs and buns compared to the 66 hot dogs and buns that Kobayashi ate during the 10 minutes. That's 100.
Kobayashi's washed.
He's totally washed. That's 149 hot dogs if you're keeping count in 10 minutes by 2 people.
All for what?
$100,000 for Joey Chestnut.
That's insane.
So there you go. You thought you had a good job. He eats hot dogs for a living. Joey Chestnut, 40, by the way, looks 71 now at this point. And his cholesterol has to be through the roof.
It'll be real interesting to do a study on him when he dies.
Yeah. Because one of the records was 64 and a half hot dogs Kobayashi had already eaten. You can't do a half hot dog. It's not like a half sack. A half a hot dog doesn't count. You didn't eat it.
That's an achievement.
You didn't eat the hot dog.
Well, they don't even chew them. They just swallow them. Do they actually chew? Do they bite?
They do the biting, and it looks terrible. All right. We'll take a break. We'll be back tomorrow again.
Has anyone ever died doing competitive eating?
I would imagine. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. For JJ, I'm Alex, our producer, Jeremy. We'll see you next time, everybody. 97.5 BKSL Sports Zone.